Okay, it is Friday, July 12th. I'm Tom Novak. Thank you for joining me. We're creating this video because we have the potential now for not only some heat, finally our first potential for a 90-degree reading, but also some severe weather. And this is what this video is going to focus on. That would be for tomorrow, Sunday, and then even into Monday. And then we get into a quiet weather pattern again as Canadian air flows in during the middle portion of next week. I'll show you that here. But this is the setup that we have. When we look at the United States and southern Canada, what you can see is we've got a ridge building out west here. This is, of course, the United States here, and here's the western United States. It's really hot out in the desert southwest, west coast, and then now spilling east into the Rockies and eventually here into the plains as we get into this weekend and early next week. And this heat dome is a bit of a problem for us because on the edge or on the northern and eastern edge of that heat dome is where you get some strong storms usually to develop. These often are nocturnal in nature, meaning that they develop probably after sunset for the most part, and then really hit hard during the late night and early morning hours across the Midwest. And we call it a ring of fire because as this hot air builds, it develops a ring, and along the northern periphery of that ring is where you get storms to fire up, hence the reason why they call the ring of fire. And of course, south and west of this jet stream, of this strong jet stream and this heat dome, as you get into the heat itself, you get into a capped atmosphere. And it would be on the edge of that cap is where storms like to develop. So anyway, that's the setup now that we have. And we're going to drill down here as we go through this video. We're going to drill down and show you what's going on. But this is the European guidance, the jet stream at 30 to 35,000 feet. And watch what happens here as we put it into motion. This is late last night, by the way, the jet stream late last night. Now watch what happens as we put it into motion. And I want you to focus on what's going on here in southern Canada. That would be Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. You can see some jet stream winds are starting to increase in intensity as we go into this weekend. This would be Sunday now. And look at how the jet stream winds are pretty strong for this time of the year, just north and west of Minnesota and Wisconsin. And it's those strong winds that often are a precursor, or at least they help develop these thunderstorms in the summertime period. And I think that's what we're going to have as we get into this weekend and then into Monday of next week, as a strong jet stream for this time of the year flows from west to east across Minnesota and Wisconsin. And again, that will be at least one of the ingredients needed for severe weather development. Now, when we drill down and we look at the upper Midwest and northern plains, and this is the NAM 3K computer model guidance. Now, these are the winds at about 20 to 25,000 feet, so a little bit lower in the atmosphere. But watch what happens as we get into, this is late tonight. Now, look at these strong winds that develop. This is what we call a disturbance that is going to be moving into eastern North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota at around midnight to 3 a.m. as we get into tomorrow morning. And that disturbance, and this is just one of 2 or 3 disturbances that are going to be affecting us, continues to move east and southeast into eastern Minnesota and western Wisconsin as we go through the morning tomorrow and perhaps even into the early afternoon. So yeah, even though we may be predicting, some places, some outlets may be predicting 90 degrees or more tomorrow, it's going to be challenging to predict temperature because of these thunderstorms that may come through during the morning hours tomorrow. And of course, that would stunt our temperature rise as we go through the day. But there's that one disturbance then that goes through, and then watch what happens. Another disturbance develops. You can see them. There are pockets of stronger winds at about 20 to 25,000 feet that develop and move east-southeast across the upper Midwest. And then here comes another real strong one Sunday night into the Dakotas. So you can see periodic opportunities for showers and storms, and some of them potentially severe as we go through the weekend and into early next week because of the environment that we have in the upper atmosphere. Now, when we go down towards the surface and we look at energy values, actually this is still throughout the atmosphere. At least these are the highest energy values throughout our atmosphere. And watch what happens here. I'm going to rewind this for you. Again, this is the NAM 3K guidance, and I want you to focus on this area here. And this is this morning now. Not much in the way of energy which is indicative of the red and purple colors, orange, red, and purple colors. That's high energy values. But watch what happens as we go through time. Look at how energy develops late tonight and early tomorrow morning over the eastern Dakotas and western Minnesota. That's a fertile environment for severe thunderstorms and would be a squall line of thunderstorms that will move through Minnesota during the morning hours, the way it appears tomorrow, maybe even linger into the afternoon hours. And look at what happens. Cape values or energy rebuilds over southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and western Wisconsin as we go through the day on Saturday and then into Saturday evening. And that would provide another fertile environment for the development of thunderstorms across a good chunk of Minnesota and northern Wisconsin as we get into the evening and overnight hours on Saturday. And then the atmosphere reloads again as we get into Sunday. This is Sunday evening. Now, it looks like a cool front may push through northern Minnesota, but the high energy values continue to stick around southern Minnesota and portions of western Wisconsin, even as we get into Sunday and then Monday. So as this next disturbance, this one looks pretty strong here on Sunday night. You can see the timestamp up here. But as we get into Sunday night, we're really going to be watching the eastern Dakotas carefully for another round of severe thunderstorms. So a lot going on in our atmosphere here as we get a combination of strong winds in the upper levels of our atmosphere. And then, of course, we get that moisture and energy in the lower and mid layers of our atmosphere, which would produce this potential for strong to severe thunderstorms. Now, we're looking at the rapid refresh guidance. I just wanted to show you what it has for a future satellite loop. Now, this is today. This is this morning. As you look outside, skies are clear, hence, not much on the future satellite here from the rapid refresh. But watch what happens and focus up here in the Dakotas as we get into this evening. This is early this evening. And look at how the thunderstorms develop over North Dakota early this evening and then into tomorrow morning. Those storms continue their eastward progress into Minnesota as we go through the morning tomorrow. So it looks like at least one batch of storms tomorrow morning that will roll through a good chunk of Minnesota. And then watch what happens as we get into the late evening and overnight hours on Saturday and into Sunday morning. This could be a severe weather outbreak here over a good chunk of Minnesota, especially eastern Minnesota and central Minnesota and northern Wisconsin as we get into Saturday night and Sunday morning. And then here comes the reloading atmosphere over North Dakota as we go into the day on Sunday. So again, I can't stress this enough, but this would be a periodic opportunities for showers and storms, and some of them severe, as we go through the next 72 hours or so, at least through Monday afternoon and evening before we finally get some fresh Canadian air to come through our region. So here is the setup. This is from, of course, Novak Weather and Next Gen Heating and Air that is sponsoring this video. Here it is. I think the greatest opportunity for severe weather over the next 48 hours is going to be over basically almost the whole state of Minnesota, but especially northwestern and central Minnesota, and then into eastern and portions of southern Minnesota and portions of western Wisconsin, okay, as we are right on the edge, like I had mentioned, of this warm bubble of air, or hot air over as you get into the central plains. That's some hot air that's trying to force its way north and east into Minnesota and Wisconsin that produces a warm front that will be straddled across Minnesota and western Wisconsin throughout much of this weekend. And it'll be within that warm front area, and where we get these turning winds in our atmosphere here over Minnesota is where you get the greatest potential for severe weather. And the turning winds are the low-level jet at about 5,000 to 7,000 feet coming up from the south and southwest, and it collides with this upper-level jet that comes in from the west and northwest. And right where those two areas mix or collide, that's where you get the greatest turning of winds. That happens to be right over Minnesota and portions of northwestern Wisconsin and eastern North Dakota, for that matter, as we go through this weekend. Just a quick peek here at the extended outlook. And again, thank you, Next Gen Heating and Air, for sponsoring this video. And it's a good sponsor for this video because, of course, they're in the heating and cooling industry, and you're going to need some cool air-conditioned air here as we get into this weekend, because I am thinking a pretty good shot of 90 degrees, especially Sunday and Monday. I'm a little hesitant to go with 90 degrees tomorrow because of the opportunity for clouds and scattered showers and storms. But I think our first 90 will be hit either Sunday or Monday, if not both days of this weekend and early next week. And then here comes Canadian air, pushes in by Wednesday of next week, and we'll have temperatures below normal with a fresh northwest breeze by the middle of next week. Okay, there's your severe weather video briefing. I appreciate you joining me, and thank you Next Gen Heating and Air for sponsoring this. Keep an eye to the sky over the next 72 hours.